No matter your occupation, age, geographical location, social status, or home life, there's a thought that's probably occurred to you at least one point in your life. The world is a cruel place. You may have reacted to the thought with immediate dismissal, something that I'm not even going to argue is a bad thing, or you might have sat with it for a while and thought it through. But whatever conclusion you came to from that initial thought, the idea that the world is cruel, or that it has cruel people in it, or that culture forces cruelty onto otherwise peaceful individuals, it's almost certainly occupied space in your head. If not, you're welcome and I'm sorry, and also I don't really believe you. The world is so vast and complex, even more so now that we've basically grafted a second world onto it and named it the internet, and as an ex-data science/statistics major, I can't help but disagree with any generalizations about its morality as a whole. Is the world cruel? If it is, does it have to continue to be? Today I want to explore this idea and hopefully dispel any doubt about whether cruelty is a necessary part of life. Spoilers, it's not. First, I want to talk about the limited scope of understanding we have of the entire world as human beings. I don't care if you've been to every country a dozen times and held personal interviews with every single one of the 8 billion people on this earth. There is absolutely no way for one human mind to get an accurate read on what the world itself is like. This comes not just from the sheer size of the planet itself, or even the biases our minds filter incoming information through, but also just from the fact that people are incapable of being truly objective. I mean, nothing is, really. Objectivity is something we like to think exists because it helps us get through our day-to-day lives. And language is a huge tool that we use to impart objectivity onto both the physical world and the nebulous ideas we encounter on a similarly day-to-day basis. Sorry, I might be front-loading you with too much information right off the bat. Let me give you an example. Have you ever heard of a Planck length? In case you haven't, it's the absolute smallest measurement we are able to conceive of with the tools and theorems available to us in modern-day science and physics. It's like an inch, but it's really, really, really small. But I'm sure anyone over the age of 2 would be able to ask, okay, but what about a half a Planck length? What about, say, 0.25 Planck lengths? Did I just make a breakthrough in physics? Do I get a Nobel Prize? Am I the reincarnation of Einstein? The point I want to illustrate here is that no matter how you cut something up, there will always be the question of, what if we take it further? Or, where do you draw the line? This is very reminiscent of things I've covered on this channel before, like the ship of Theseus and the whole how many grains of sand make a heap question. And this isn't a coincidence. The idea I'm talking about is present in all fields and practices. Painters can disagree on the minute differences of pigments. Chefs can disagree on the proper usage of flavor in their dishes. Even the dictionary changes like every year or something. Oh yeah, this is where language comes in. We, as humans, have a very strange relationship with language. We use it to communicate with others, but we also use it to communicate with ourselves. Ideas and feelings, no matter how complicated or simple or concrete or abstract, are all described in terms of words, pictures, or some other proxy for the little electrical firings in our minds. This is where we get things like mental images and internal monologues. They bring the inner workings of our minds under the spotlight of consciousness. I don't want to get too deep into that. That's not what we're here for. I gotta lock in. Okay. Humans are also very accustomed to limits. We constantly test for them, whether we're adding weights to the barbell at the gym or poking fun at a celebrity on Twitter. Do people actually do that with their time? Anyway, limitations are not a foreign idea to us, but we often fail to recognize the limitations that keep us from truly understanding our surroundings. I'm not even sure why, but I run into so many people, regardless of life experience, age, or what have you, that think they know how things work. They think that they have the knowledge of how the world turns, how culture is and should be, how money should be spent, etc. I'm guilty of this too. It would be incredibly hypocritical of me to speak from a point of authorship about human beings' inability to understand things. Assuming I'm human anyway. But see, here's the thing. The feeling that you get how something works, the idea that you can predict someone's behavior or the motions of the stock market with absolute certainty, is genuinely downstream of a kernel of understanding that you pick up about a subject. Obviously, no one is going to be able to claim that they know everything about a subject without even touching it. Humans have a tendency to extrapolate and assume. I think this is a good thing sometimes, but I also think that in regards to assumptions like the world is a cruel place, it's a huge shortcoming of our species. In a way, we have an obligation to overcome it. Here, watch this real quick.
You can break the force of human civilization into two. One, the urge to control and to destroy. I guess motivated by fear. We can call that the law. And then there's the urge to create, to heal, motivated by love. The artist. Every important conflict in history comes down to the law versus the artist. It's hard because the artist acts as an individual, while the law as an army. If you don't love enough, it's easy to find yourself on the side of the law, even if you think you're an artist.
In this scene from the video game Immortality, this character describes all human conflicts throughout history as boiling down to a clash between two fundamental forces, law and art. I believe this can be even further distilled into objectivity and subjectivity. Some people want the world to confine itself into rigid defined lines in the sand. Others want the world to flourish into innumerable differing perspectives that live in harmony among each other. Maybe my phrasing of that sentence betrays my stance on the subject, but I like it, so I'm leaving it in. I'm not here to say that artists are more important than lawmakers. I'm also not here to say that one of these sides is the right one or should somehow dominate the other, because I think that a level of control is necessary to provide artists with the ability to create. And I also think a level of expression is necessary for people to determine and evaluate morals that eventually get encoded into laws. It's a delicate balance, really. If you went out and interviewed people on the street and you asked them what their ideal civilization looked like, most people would probably agree that everyone in that civilization would get along. In fact, let's turn this into a fun little exercise. I'm going to give you a little bit to think and just imagine what your completely perfect society looks like. If the world was perfect, if everything was exactly the way you think it should be, I'm talking on a global scale, what does that look like? You can even put it in the comments if you want. Go ahead. Okay, very good job. It's going on the fridge. I bet there's one thing most of you probably included. Everyone in your society is happy and no one is short on food or water and everyone has a place to live. Maybe you didn't put it into those words and maybe that wasn't even something you considered, but you'll be hard pressed to find somebody who thinks that would be a bad thing. So my point stands. Probably. So if people want to be happy and get along, why don't we? Well, a lot of the time, it's hard not to put ourselves first. And this isn't wrong or bad. Of course, you need to protect yourself and care for yourself, or you can't even function as a member of a community. But there is such a thing as taking that too far. Alright, the gloves are coming off. I think we're about to get political. Everybody buckle your seatbelts and ready your tomatoes. It's clear to anyone paying attention that there are people in power that want us to fight one another. Maybe you haven't stopped to ask why, or maybe you think it's a fool's errand to consider the motives of those above us. Maybe you think you already know, and for all I know, you might. Like I said before, we like to extrapolate and assume and convince ourselves that we understand things better than we actually do, myself included. But at the very least, it's obvious in many aspects of our daily lives that there are people in power who want to influence us into thinking or acting in certain ways. And by us, I mean, well, pretty much everybody. Here, we'll start simple. When you see an advertisement for a product, let's say toothpaste, there's a number of reactions you could have to the advertisement itself. You might disregard it or ignore it. You might engage with it and think, wow, I should buy that toothpaste. You might think, man, I hate these guys, I'm never gonna buy their toothpaste. But next time you see an ad or something, think about the intent behind it. Why am I being shown this? Well, the answer's obvious. Because someone wants you to buy something. Somebody out there wants money, and one of the methods they use to get the money is convincing people to spend it on a product they specifically profit from. I know I'm over-explaining a bit here, but I just want to make sure we're on the same page before I step further into the hedge maze that is political discourse on the internet. This hypothetical person that wants money is willing to exert time and effort, however compartmentalized or delegated it may be, to take money from other people. That's capitalism, right? Everybody wants money, and they take the money from the other people in the economy. Sometimes they spend money to make money, sometimes they do other stuff to make money. But the goal is just to have more money. This is why I don't really think of capitalism as an ideology or a political worldview. It's really more of a complicated excuse to steal. And before you Google my address and mail me a nice envelope full of anthrax, I'm not particularly fond of communism or socialism or any of that either. I consider myself a centrist. A centrist? Yes. Please close the tab you're using to buy anthrax. The people who want your money want it because they want power. That's all it is. There are people that want power, and they do what they can to take it, whether it's by taking your money, convincing you to vote for them, or putting up a no loitering sign outside of Applebee's. This is, of course, an echo of the conflict between authority and artistry, the one I talked about earlier, in case you forgot. But I said that was a delicate balance, and looking at the way things are now, it's hard to call the current state of things a fair balance of artists and the law. Okay, I'm going off script right here real quick. I failed to put in the script that wanting power isn't inherently a bad or evil thing. Everybody wants power. Everybody wants the ability to affect the world around them, and that's completely natural. The problem is that there's a certain level of power that I personally think is just too much, and you really don't need it. I just wanted to clear that up, because wanting power inherently isn't bad, but wanting the level of power that some people have right now is a little bit ridiculous, in my opinion. Anyway, let's go on to the conclusion here. The way I see it, we as a species are a team. We all contribute our own idiosyncratic skills toward the goal of making life better for all of us. We heal the sick, we share knowledge with those who need it, and we must also consider the needs of the animals and plants around us. People are stronger together. This has been scientifically proven countless times. The wisdom of the crowds, specifically, is one of my favorite studies that exemplify this. But this video is getting long, so I'll save that for another day. Let's take this all from the top. The idea that the world is a cruel place and that evil runs rampant in the streets of every major society across the globe is not a new idea. It may even resonate with you a little. And that might be because capitalism has taken such a stranglehold on the cultures of the world, influencing us all to justify our own desire to improve ourselves at the cost of others. This can be seen at a large scale, with people in power wielding control over populations to keep them underneath, and at smaller ones, like people recruiting others into pyramid schemes, or people crypto-scamming idiots on Reddit. As that lady in the clip from earlier said, the law fights with armies, and the artists fight as individuals. In today's day and age, people are encouraged to fight with one another. This should be obvious to anyone with at least 2 brain cells to rub together. Instead of sussing out where the real targets lie, we obey and we vilify other human beings. Maybe some people use other things to justify their selfishness. Maybe they choose to include close family and friends in their greed. But what the ultimate goal should be, in my opinion, is to extend that kindness to all the people of the world. Empathy and love need to reach all people everywhere, and everyone needs to pitch in what love they have to give, or this whole Homo sapien thing will be a total bust. If you take away one thing from what I've said today, it's that you need to start empathizing with the people around you. Start with friends and loved ones, of course. But if you're already super good at that, then do it for strangers too. We need to come together if we want anything to get better. It's simply a requirement for a better future. And with that, I'll see you next time. Alright, thank you for watching. I'm working on some other new stuff, like a creative writing project. If people are interested, I can go into detail, I guess. Oh, and I have a Patreon. Yes, now you can give me your money and allow me to take power. Also, vote for me and don't hang out in the Applebee's parking lot. Sorry, don't actually give me money unless you're rich or something. It would be irresponsible of me to preach at you about love and the meaninglessness of money and then ask you for your money. But it wouldn't be if you were rich. So yeah, just don't give me money unless you like really want to or something. Anyway, goodbye.